Hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you and welcome to the channel. So if you are following the channel, then you are aware that we have started a new initiative wherein we are covering the topics of paper number 6, which is going to come in UKPSC upper PCS mains examination. The paper is titled General Science and Technology. First of all, we are covering the portion of life sciences. So today we will be covering class number 3. If you haven't watched the earlier videos, you can do so. I have already made a playlist for the same, and in case you want the PDF of these topics, then after I complete the portion of life sciences, I'll be uploading the PDF on the Telegram channel. Link is given in the description, you can join it. So let's start the class. So first we'll be covering digestive system today. So as you are aware that this is specifically mentioned that a basic introduction of all these 7 systems comprising of digestive, circulatory, respiratory, excretory, nervous system, reproduction, and also the endocrine system is in your syllabus. Okay. So today we'll be covering the digestive system. Now, digestive system is made up of organs, and basically it is divided into 2 parts. One is the GI tract, that is the gastrointestinal tract, and the other is the accessory organs. Alright, so GI tract, it starts from the mouth and it's up to the anus. Alright, it is approximately 9 meters in length and it comprises of several regions. For example, the esophagus, then we have the stomach, then the small intestines and the large intestines. Alright, now the food enters through the mouth, passes through all these organs and eventually leaves the body through the anus. Now what happens is that peristalsis is the involuntary muscle contraction that actually helps in the movement of food across the GI tract. There are certain accessory organs involved. Food does not directly enter them, but they are involved because they secrete certain substances, enzymes or other such components which help in the digestion of the food. Alright. So the accessory organs, they comprise of the liver, gallbladder and pancreas. Alright. Now if you see the structure, so if a question comes for approximately 16 marks or even for 8 marks wherein you are asked to describe the process of digestion, so I would recommend or I would highly suggest that you draw this diagram. Alright. So as you can see that there is the oral cavity and there are 3 salivary glands involved. The one close to the ear is called the parotid gland. There are 2 which are located below the, or you can say towards the lower jaw, which is the submaxillary and sublingual gland. So food enters from the mouth, it reaches the pharynx, and from the pharynx it moves into the esophagus. Alright, the esophagus is basically a tube which connects the pharynx to the stomach. Stomach is a pouch like structure, and eventually from the stomach the food enters the duodenum. So basically duodenum is a part of the small intestine. It is the smallest part of the small intestine, and then we have the jejunum and then we have the ileum. Okay, so these 3 parts, that is the duodenum, jejunum and ileum, these are 3 parts of the small intestines. From the small intestine the food enters the large intestine. There water is reabsorbed, and finally through the anus the excretory substances are eventually, first of all, the excretory substances, they are stored in the rectum and they are passed out with the help of the anus. Alright. So we have a cacum like region out here which depicts the portion wherein the small intestine and the large intestine they meet. Vermiform appendix is basically not of much use in humans. It is also called a vestigial organ. The parts of the large intestines can also be studied under these heads. Well, first of all, we have the ascending colon, then we have the transverse colon which is like this, and then we have the descending colon. Alright, so this was the basic structure. And then if you talk about the accessory glands, so we have the gallbladder and we have the liver and then we have the pancreas. Alright, now if we start studying about the functions of the digestive system, so there are basically, the main functions are 3. First of all, digestion of food is involved, absorption of nutrients and elimination of solid food waste. So digestion basically comprises breaking down of food into components that the body can eventually absorb. There are 2 processes involved. One is the mechanical digestion and the other is chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion starts or happens basically in the mouth and the stomach because the food is being broken down into smaller pieces. Chemical digestion involves involvement, or you can say wherein the enzymes get involved, and eventually because of certain chemical processes the food is finally converted into simple forms that can be absorbed by the body. Now the absorption is basically happening in the small intestine, whereas water reabsorption takes place in the large intestine. If we go into the depth of the digestion process. So first of all, it begins in the mouth. Okay, there is a release of saliva, which comprises of the enzymes from all the 3 salivary glands that help in the digestion of carbohydrates. So if we are asked, so the carbohydrate digestion begins in the mouth itself. Alright, the major salivary enzyme amylase, also known as ptyalin, the spelling being PTYALIN, okay, that is involved in the breaking of the carbohydrates into simpler substances, and the teeth are involved, which help in breaking or converting the food into smaller pieces. Alright, so that the surface area gets increased and the digestive or the salivary enzymes can act upon it. Then we have the esophagus. Nothing much happens out here. It's just the movement of the food from the mouth up to the stomach. So it is basically a connecting link. Now the next is the stomach, where both mechanical as well as chemical digestion is happening because of the churning movement of the stomach's thick muscular walls, and also the release of digestive fluids, one of the fluid being HCl. Now what is the use of this HCl? So first of all, in case some bacteria has been swallowed by the person, so the HCl is going to kill that bacteria. If by chance some bacteria has been swallowed, so HCl in the food, HCl in the stomach, which will be helping us get rid of that bacteria. Secondly, HCl being an acid lowers the pH and helps the digestive enzymes to work on the food, which is now called the chyme. Okay, CHYME is the term which is used when the food is in the stomach. Now from the stomach, the food which is partially digested enters the small intestine. So another important enzyme that acts during when the food is in the stomach is the pepsin. So pepsin acts on the proteins and converts it into peptones. Alright, so if we are asked the question, where does protein digestion begin? So it begins in the stomach. Alright, now from the stomach, the food is entering the small intestine. It enters the duodenum, and duodenum is very important because it basically receives the enzymes from the pancreas as well as the liver. Okay, as I've already shown you in the diagram. So if we talk about the enzymes and if we are asked about the source or what it digests, so amylase जो है आपका, it is present in the saliva also, but it is also present in this region wherein in the small intestines also this is present, and it comes from the pancreas. It helps in the digestion of carbohydrates. Second is trypsin. It comes from pancreas, helps in the digestion of proteins. Lipase comes from pancreas and is also made in the duodenum, and it helps in the digestion of lipids. Maltase comes from the duodenum, helps in the digestion of carbohydrates. Peptidase comes from the duodenum and helps in the digestion of proteins. Alright. So this is what happened in the small intestine. Small intestine is the basic organ where most of the digestion takes place. And since there are small finger-like projections, so when the food is digested into very simple components, for example, into simple sugars or into amino acids, then eventually with the help of the villi or the small finger-like projections, these simple substances are absorbed into the bloodstream. Alright. Now, when the undigested part enters the large intestine, here it gets solidified. The water is reabsorbed into the body, and finally it results in the formation of the excreta, which is stored in the rectum and finally is released through the anus. Now, the accessory organs like the pancreas and liver are also very important because they release digestive enzymes. Basically, pancreas, as I've already mentioned in the earlier slide, certain enzymes like amylase and trypsin are released from the pancreas, and from the liver, the bile is released, which is stored in the gallbladder, and it helps in the digestion of fat or lipids. Alright. Now, in a nutshell, or the summary of the entire process is that first of all, ingestion or taking in of the food is happening, then mixing and movement is happening, secretion, digestion, absorption, and finally excretion takes place. Certain disorders which are involved with the digestive system are first of all vomiting. If the food comes back from the stomach into the mouth, it results in this vomiting. Diarrhea is when abnormal watery bowel movement, that is when water is not properly reabsorbed by the large intestines, it results in diarrhea. Constipation, when the feces, there is irregular bowel movement, it results in constipation. And indigestion is when the food is not digested properly and there is a feeling of acidity. Alright, it happens usually when you take in spicy foods. Okay, so that's it, and we'll meet in the next video wherein we'll be covering the next important system. So that's it for today, and always remember that whatever exam you're preparing for, you can do it. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, bye bye and take care.